What's up guys, welcome to Munchkins Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Munchkins logging in to bring you another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video, and welcome back to another video guide. In today's video, we are going to take a look at Strago's Lost Chapter LUFENIA fight. But before we do start, like and subscribe if you haven't already, because it does help the channel guys, and I would really appreciate it. So without further ado, let's start this video. And of course, we'll start this video off on how to deal with the LUFENIA orb, which starts at the start of the battle and when the boss's HP reaches less than 50%. This does disappear at less than 80% of their HP. You can get one LUFENIA orb counter when the target is hit by either a thunder or a holy element. Characters that can do this pretty well are Paladin Cecil, Kuja, Ash, of course, Lightning, Kryle, Dash, and there's really a lot more characters than this that can do Holy and Thunder elements. So I'm not gonna list all of them, but these are my recommendations. And so let's move on how the fight works. Now this is a wall of text, I know, but there are a few things that I do want to mention regarding this fight. First of all, when you as a player take 20 or more consecutive turns, the boss will get a buff. Basically will reduce your Brave plus HP damage to that boss to 1 until the next turn. So you do want to give the boss a bit of a turn here and there just to avoid this. I personally haven't experienced it because I did let the boss have a few turns, but yeah, try to let them have a turn every now and then. Now the next thing that I want to talk about is the boss's 2 stance. The quadrupedal stance, basically what you have to look out for here is the ability called Blaze Wave. Now this doesn't really give you any HP damage, but it does enable the boss to have quite a lot of resistances and able to absorb a lot of elements. So it will be resistance to ice, thunder, earth, and holy elements, and will absorb the fire, wind, water, dark elements. It will also be resistant to magic and will absorb physical attacks. This can be cancelled via breaking the boss or after 1 turn. So it's not a big deal, but it is still something very annoying as a player. So we'll be going through this obviously and how you're going to deal with this one. But yeah, this is a little bit annoying, but there are ways to deal with this. Next is the bipedal stance. Basically, the thing to really look out for here is Seraphorce, which it actually uses a lot. Basically, it will just have a reduced brave damage towards it, and basically it does hit pretty hard as well, and it will have a sap-like effect. And finally, you cannot provoke this boss, so it is immune to the lock debuff. Alright guys, now let's move on how you're gonna deal with this fight. Well, instant break is the thing to go for here, especially in those instances where, you know, the boss will have multiple resistances and stuff like that. Instant break to, you know, just get back into it. It's not completely necessary, but I would highly recommend doing so. Again, you know, you're dealing with the LUFENIA orb anyway. I do suggest just bringing like an enchant aura character like Dash, Kryle, Ash, obviously, Kuja can do this as well, and to a certain extent Paladin Cecil if you use his C65 ability. You know, there are a few characters that can have like enchant aura, and I do highly suggest using them, because the thing here is you have a limited amount of LUFENIA orbs to gain, so you only get 1. Basically, you're making sure that that particular boss stays on the same number you attacked it on. So it's very hard, and sometimes it feels like a struggle trying to get it up. So timing your summon and burst phase are something that you want to initiate as well. So having that aura basically will ensure that during those phases, or during your burst phase even, that you're to a certain extent you're trying to make sure you get that LUFENIA orb counter up. And trust me, it can be a bit of a struggle, especially if you're not fully prepared for it. So I'm telling you now, just get an enchant aura character and you should be fine. Even if it's just using a coal or something like that, just as a backup, go for it. The last thing I do want to mention is use paralysis and other debuffs that can skip enemy turns, like HP silence, terror, sleep, confuse, whatever you want to use them, because like I said, you do want the boss to have a few turns so you don't deal once, you know, for your brave plus HP damage. So just try to avoid that. You probably more than likely won't be able to see that, but just in case, I do want to reiterate, just, you know, if you do want to have the boss have a turn, at the very least, at least you can paralyze them or something along those lines. It's not completely necessary, it's just an idea that I'm putting out there. Alright guys, now let's talk about characters you can bring. There's really no, you know, no limitations to this boss. I mean, even though it does get a few resistances here and there is a way to get around that, which via breaking the boss and stuff like that instantly. So nothing to worry about there. So as for characters to bring, again, I'm just repeating the same thing. It's just enchant aura. They're the key to this one. And off-turn damage is going to help you as well. Like if you can do counters, especially when the boss has a turn. Or traps or something along those lines. If you have an aura character and you have off-turn damage, you're gonna make sure that that LUFENIA orb counter goes up. For me personally, like I mentioned earlier, it can be a struggle with certain compositions, only in certain compositions. But if you are prepared for it, then you won't have any issues with the LUFENIA orb counters. Alright, now talking about coal characters, again, you can have Jack, Bartz, Lion, Aerith if you want some sort of revive. Gabranth is not too bad as well. Caius if you want that instant break. Kryle, Ashe you can bring as well if you don't want Ashe to be in your main team. You know, there's a ton of characters that you can definitely use, and you know, they can give you that party enchant aura as well. I would just highly suggest just using on the main team, but if you just want to go for a coal character, then that's on you. Alright guys, now let's talk about party compositions. Of course, the first one I would suggest is the one I went with Paladin, Cecil, Tifa, and Bartz. The cold team for this one, Lion, Jack, and Kryle. As for the support, I just went with Tifa, and Ramuh is for my summon. Obviously, Ramuh is a great summon in this particular fight since it does give you the thunder element when you do attack. So, there is a bit of a issue here when increasing the LUFENIA orb count, but if you do time your burst and your summon, then you should be completely fine. The next team is going to consist of Bartz, Yang, and Tifa. The cold team of Jack, Ashe, and Gabranth, Tifa for the support, and Ramuh for the summon. So this is sort of like playing around with the cheese team where you have Yang basically doing a lot of the you know, heavy lifting when it comes to the LUFENIA orb counter. Obviously having multiple turns with Tifa helps with that as well. Ashe is kind of replaceable here for the cold team. Like I mentioned, you can use Kryle as well. She'll give you the same enchant. So I do highly suggest just picking the one that you have. So yeah. Alright, so with the final team, I have Terra, Sarah, and Dash. The cold team for this one is Ami, Lion, Jack, and Bartz. Tifa for the support, and Ramuh for the summon. So Dash is probably one of those characters that people have just slept on, or you probably don't even own his LD. I myself don't own his LD, but even if you don't own his LD, you can actually still use him, because his ability 1 and ability 2, I believe, is the abilities that give him like the thunder enchant to the parties. So yeah, it is something that a lot of people don't realize. So having Dash, even if you just have his EX, will be able to help you deal with the LUFENIA orb counter. Obviously, having the LD is going to be very helpful when it comes to damage overall. But if you do end up just using Dash as a party aura, you just have to make sure you have a very good DPS team. Alright guys, so we're finally towards the end of this video, and of course my final thoughts regarding the fight. Honestly, this fight, it's okay, as long as you have like a party enchant aura for the holy and thunder elements. It's not that big of an issue. It's more just dealing with the LUFENIA orb, to be honest. When it comes to the mechanics, they're very rare that you have to deal with them. Specifically the 20 turn consecutive count. I just don't feel like there's anyone actually going to be able to do that unless you just completely delay them, which is a strategy. But I would just let them have a turn. It's not that hard, and honestly, the only thing that you're really worried about when it comes to HP damage is going to be during his bipedal stage. Bipedal stage has the AoE Brave plus HP attack, which I actually think I didn't mention, but I did list it down, I promise. So it's just one of those things that okay, I have to deal with this mechanic, and and some of them, like I said, is just very far in between, and it's very easy to deal with, right? So overall, as long as you have a enchant aura, and you can do instant break, this shouldn't be an issue. And if you do get hit by HP damage, then just heal through it. I mean, if you can bring like a healer or like a support character that can do this, by all means. Like Platinum Cecil, again, is one of the best to do this. He can heal and has a very good party aura as well. But if you don't have him, you can have like Aerith or something along those lines. It was still pretty decent in doing that, as long as you have like that party enchant. And I can't stress it enough than having that, because it just frees you from that okay, I need someone who can do holy damage and someone can do thunder damage. It just frees you from that like restrictiveness, right? So anyway, I would really put this in the okay department when it comes to difficulty, and that will be it for this video, guys. Please do remember to click like and subscribe if you haven't already, because it does help this channel, and I would really appreciate it if you share this video as well to a fellow DFFO player who is struggling to beat LUFENIA fights. Leave down in the comment below your team, and of course, if you have a different strategy that I didn't mention, please leave it down in the comments below. You can always follow me on Twitter and on Facebook at Munchkins Gaming. This is Munchkins logging off. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next level.